Greetings summoners, my name is Terry, and today I'll be discussing and analyzing potential future events for Wild Rift by drawing analysis from the current and past Wild Rift events. Season 3 started off relatively well, with many new champion releases, relatively engaging events, and overall improvements to the game as a whole. With 2.4b introducing Nunu and Brand set to release on September 9th, we haven't gotten any other big announcements. The champions were one of the most anticipated events that the community was anticipating. So in light of that, we have our question of the day. What are you looking forward to next in Wild Rift? I'm personally waiting for the console release, or at least some updates on the progress. Be sure to address the question of the day in the comments down below. To begin, we have some potential new champions for Wild Rift. As mentioned by Quirk on his YouTube channel, Riot teased some potential new champions in one of their notes. Specifically, the article covering the vast itemization changes in patch 2.4. In it, they stated, "That's all for now. Patch 2.4 is massive, but there's more to come as I herald some exciting changes meant to exceed your expectations. Prepare for a peek behind the veil in our next post." They italicized the words Veil, Seed, and Herald, all potentially alluding to new additions to the game. For Veil, there's really only one notable thing that comes to mind: Banshee's Veil. This is an item that provides a spell shield alongside magic resistance, allowing for it to be a great item for nullifying AP damage. We'll almost definitely get Banshees on Wild Rift, seeing as how there aren't many strong magic resist items in the game, and the word Veil almost always refers to Banshees. For Herald, this might be a reference to Victor, who also goes by the Machine Herald. The only other logical assumption would be for the changes to the Rift Herald, but seeing as how Wild Rift developers love to release champions, 2 at a time, it's highly likely that Victor will be releasing in the near future. But what about the second champion? Well, by emphasizing Seed, it's highly likely to be Zyra, and here's why. The champion has a direct reference to seeds in her abilities in League PC. She can plant them around her vicinity with abilities casted thereafter spawning plants that attack enemies. She's often played as a support AP champion in League of Legends, and seeing as how Brand is releasing in the current patch and Senna released before, it seems Wild Rift wants to very much push the damage support meta that has already become so prevalent. Zyra would be a very welcome addition to this exact meta. The second champion that comes to mind when thinking of seeds is Maokai. He throws seed-like creatures that chase the enemy, which explode upon impact. But if you look at the specific wording on League of Legends' official page, these little critters are actually called saplings rather than seeds. So if we're judging by direct evidence, Zyra is simply the more likely champion of the two. Now, I'm sure those of you who follow League of Legends are familiar with VEX, who is releasing rather soon. Will the Yordle enter Wild Rift as well? There's really no evidence indicating that. And from speculations of the Yordle's abilities and overall aesthetic, it's highly unlikely. The mysterious unique colors remind me of when they released Gwen, who also didn't end up joining Wild Rift upon release. Not all League of Legends new champion releases will be imported into Wild Rift. It seems the champions that are associated with big name events, like the KDA and Sentinels of Light, have been added simultaneously. Therefore, it's unreasonable to say that VEX will be the upcoming Wild Rift champion, especially when we don't have any news on a huge new event. By now, they would have at least dropped some teaser or trailer, and especially because the Sentinels of Light was so recently, I doubt that another big event will come soon. Keep in mind, these champions are merely speculations based off of previous trends and existing evidence, but they may not ring true in the future. In addition, we still don't have any news on the official global release for Wild Rift. As of now, we're still technically in the open beta, since the global release would include the release of servers in regions like India. We do have Wild Rift Worlds coming up at the end of 2021, and although the event includes many regions and is a very impressive feat, isn't technically a fully global competition. This feels pretty bad for players in India who have been waiting to sink their claws into the game. India is a major missing region, but chances are Riot is not going to be able to release it in the country anytime this year. This isn't because they don't want to, but rather they simply can't, at least not yet. As many of you guys know, Wild Rift definitely has issues with lag. Some games will function perfectly fine while others are simply plagued by the unstable connection. In addition, I'm fairly certain that if they released Wild Rift in India, the overall server connectivity would be unbearably bad. Since I'm not a developer or troubleshooter at Riot, I'm not 100% sure why the issue is persisting, but I personally believe that the problem often comes from bigger regions that have players spread across a longer distance. Most MOBAs use designated servers to fetch data across all the players simultaneously. but the further away you are from the server, the longer it takes the data to travel. This results in lag. In League BC, the primary server is located in Chicago, Illinois, which is relatively in the middle of the United States. This results in players from the East and West Coast to play with more lag since they're just further away from the server. The same issue persists in Wild Rift, with some added caveats. I personally played the mobile game in the US and South Korea without the use of a VPN. In essence, I actually lived in specific countries for a period of time. As a whole, even when connected to a stable internet, Wild Rift lagged significantly more frequently in the US, while my connection in South Korea has been nearly flawless. This would support the previous notion of the distance from servers, since the US is a lot bigger than South Korea. But that's not all. Do you guys remember when VPN users were plaguing Wild Rift and how playing with one resulted in everyone's ping becoming inflated? Well, VPNs fake the player's location, but since they're still technically receiving and sending data at their actual location, the VPN user is inevitably lagged. But why did the rest of the players lag a bit with them? I don't know the exact answer to this question, but from what I can tell as a player is that the servers attempt to compensate for that single player's connectivity issues by sacrificing the connectivity of the others. I'm not sure why this occurs or exactly what happens behind the scenes, but this logical connection would explain why VPN usage was such an issue, since the artificially created distance was too much for the servers to handle. One thing VPN usage undoubtedly taught us is that distance is a problem. Now, if you consider the fact that India is a massive country, I'm sure that there would be massive problems to go along with it. A single player who is far away from the dedicated server shouldn't decrease the latency of the game for everyone. But that's how it seems to be at the current state of the game. Until they can fix this, which would include adjusting all the servers around the world, an India release would simply not be that feasible. Of course, they can just release the game in India without addressing these issues, but that just doesn't seem like a smart decision on Riot's part. And without an India release, Wild Rift Worlds, albeit sure to be very impressive, won't fulfill Riot's goal of being the first truly global mobile esport. Wild Rift has a long future ahead of it, so I'm sure the issues with their servers will be resolved given enough time, allowing room for India's release soon after. It wouldn't make much sense for Riot to work on India's release until they can fix this issue, since it would just stack more workload onto their already full plate. For those of you who haven't, be sure to join our ProGuides Wild Rift Discord. We have regular giveaways and community events. Our next topic is the console release. Where is it, and why haven't we heard anything about it? I'm speculating that though it's in the works, Riot isn't prioritizing it much at all, and therefore hasn't communicated with the community about the progress. For aspects of the game where they have notable progress and are major focuses, Riot typically makes sure to actively communicate with their player base by laying out some of their biggest goals. For esports, they want to make it the first truly global esport, and for the game itself, they're working to fix the server situation. I'm sure that they have a team dedicated to work around porting Wild Rift, but sincerely doubt that they're working on strict immediate deadlines. The console release does little to help those goals. In addition, creating successful ports of Wild Rift onto current generation consoles is sure to have a bunch of different issues. In addition, console players are unlikely to join the competitive scene for Wild Rift, even if the game is cross-platform. This is due to the lack of precision provided by console controllers. I'm really not trying to roast console gaming. In fact, there are tons of games that are better on consoles than on the mobile. But in regards to the unique environment of a MOBA like Wild Rift, the console version is sure to lack the precision and accuracy that mobile phones have through the touchscreen system. Let's take Pokemon Unite as an example. The game's aiming system really sucks, and I have the equivalent challenger in the game, so it's not that I'm just a bad player. The analog stick doesn't let you precisely control your aim as much as a touchscreen control would. This is because it's easier to slide aim with a touchscreen than it is with an analog stick, especially during fast-paced moments. Of course, this is a separate, completely different game, but I'm absolutely certain Wild Rift will run into similar issues, therefore almost certainly making the mobile the most optimal method of play. Even on the highest end cell phones, which are far more powerful than the Nintendo Switch, Wild Rift causes overheating. This is because the game takes a lot of processing power to run, resulting in high demand from devices. Therefore, optimizing the game for different devices requires adjusting the quality and setting an appropriate cap on the frame rate, and properly doing so can result in terrible degradation of consoles. The same actually happens for phones, speaking from experience of my personal phone battery's life having been shortened drastically from spamming Wild Rift. This is a common issue for phone overuse, but if the same were to happen for console games, there'd be a massive uproar. Porting from mobile to console is no easy task. especially if Riot is to keep up the high standards that they've already set for the game. So don't expect the console release anytime soon, unless Riot has really been putting in work behind the curtains, but I sincerely doubt it. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the content, like the video and subscribe to the channel for everything Wild Rift. And before you leave, don't forget to address the question of the day in the comments down below. Until next time, stay safe and have fun.